Hello guys and welcome to another episode of Michi's Esports Diary. So despite it has been quite a long time since the last video of this format, I'd like to bring it back obviously. The reasoning behind all it is I have been so flat out and so busy with racing that I just couldn't dial in, just sitting down half an hour or an hour, make my mind up about what could I be talking about, and then especially keep it in the same time frame. As you know, I'm talking quite a lot about stuff. So yeah, we had a little bit of an off time with this. I'd like to bring it back in a different format, especially since we got that nice little roll up here from the Gamebox Festival in Denmark. And I just like to try different things, see how that goes. But yeah, anyway, let's come to the point. Michi's Esport Diary. So last weekend we had this first episode of the VCO Infinity 24-hour event, which was a 24-hour event, quite not the likes that we know all. It was 24 races in 24 hours for 40 teams. So literally 24 sprint races, 45 minutes each, 5 different cars, 5 different tracks, and well, I gotta say, it was a refreshing format, wasn't it? So for those of you who have followed it last week, you know what I'm talking about. For those that haven't, in this corner you will find a list, the playlist for the VCO Infinity series. So basically we've had 24 races over the period of 24 hours. We have taken race 1, 2, 3, 7, 9... bear with me, I think 19 and 22. So we've done 6 races in that series, all on iRacing. Cars were the LMP2, the Formula 3, the McLaren GT3, the Dallara IndyCar and the Hyundai TCR car. On the tracks that were Spa-Francorchamps, Silverstone, Monza, Road America and the Daytona road course. So what has happened, or what VCO has done basically, if they've allocated 1 car each to 1 track, obviously no doubling all the time, and then played out a schedule and we had to fill in our drivers. Now I think overall we finished 33rd or 34th, because we had some couple of issues during the night with one of the drivers of us being completely out of internet. So first his internet provider decided to kind of cut the cable on it, so his entire house was down. Then he was like, okay, let's see if I can race via a different possibility, a modem, or I think he even considered the mobile network. But what happened then is the provider said, okay, you've reached your maximum amount of data used for your contract, and well, he had no opportunity to contact the ISP because his internet was down, so he couldn't go on the web and book additional data on his contract. And also he couldn't go on the web because his internet was dead, so he could not even go for more data traffic allowed. So in the end we were left with literally 3 people for 24 hours, and it's no standard 24-hour race where one driver is always driving, one is always communicating with each other. Every driver had their own races, had their own stuff to prepare for, and so communication was a bit different. Especially completely different as what you would expect from a standard 24, where you keep checking with the driver, like, how's the car feeling, anything I can do for you, blah blah blah. You don't have that in this kind of event, and that made it quite interesting and quite special. Also, of course, a lot of things learned. So if there's ever a second episode of it happening, then of course there is a lot of lessons learned, a lot of new knowledge that we've gathered, and we have been really pleased and happy to have been part of this session and on this occasion. However, I already mentioned it, P33 not quite the result we wanted to have. has to do with the fact that we were down on Kazuki Oishima as our main iRacing expert solely, because Ivan had this issues with his internet. Then obviously Jenny and me, we were so deep into the preparations of Formula Pro, and actually we were like, you know, that VCO event is quite not perfect for our schedule right now. So we just said, okay, we're just gonna have fun, we take part, we try to do our best, we try to give it everything and see where we go in. It turned out that I think Yene and me would both kind of finish the races between 20th and 30th. The races that have gone completely wrong, we've obviously finished further down the order, which, well, was to be expected, because, you know, in those sprint races, it's not like you drive at a 24-hour race where you just like chill out and kind of, you know, take it easy. So it's more like you go all in and like you try and maximize the positions, because for the point system it was like first got 40 points, second got 39, third got 38, and so on until 40th place that got the last point per race. Yeah, so as you can imagine, every position mattered, every point counted, and after 24 races they summed up the totals, and quite unsurprisingly it was Team Redline to come out at the top of the standings. Not that we would have been at the very top anyway, but yeah, we certainly would have been higher up than P30 if we had less issues in that regard. So towards the races, like, it is a refreshing format, because you think from race to race, and rather than like from stint to stint, you're always faced with a different kind of task, you know, because the Indy car drives different than the front wheel driven TCR car, and that again drives different than that lazy McLaren GT3 that simply doesn't want to turn. Which then again drives completely different to the Formula 3, which I think in Silverstone it was the fixed setup for all series and races, by the way. It drove like a forklift, like you turned in and you felt the rear went out, and it took me like 6 or 7 or 8 laps into the race till I found out, it's like, hey, you should not be intimidated by the rear kind of stepping out on the entry, because you need that rotation for the remainder of the corner. As some shorts will unveil soon, that this didn't go too well in all occasions, but yeah, it is what it is. It was a great experience indeed. It was a great format, and I mean, we're looking forward hopefully to being part of that series once again. I hope that it will come back. I also hope that it may perhaps come back on rFactor 2 at a certain point. Because, you know, we've done 24-hour races so often, and yes, 24-hour races, they have their charm, they have their spiciness, and they have their own kind of laws and their own kind of stories to tell afterwards. Like always, those endurance races are quite fun, because there's always something happening that you kind of can jiggle about afterwards. As you may have seen with this short, as we've overtaken Jimmy Nusula in the GTR 24 12 Hours of Sebring in a very unique way. So yeah, as I said, those are the things that an endurance race can always give you, can always bring up to your attention, and will kind of remain as a great experience, as a great memory, racing together with the friends, with the teammates, you know, hanging out, having 24 hours of joy, hopefully. That is still very much the same case with that VCO format. However, and I think this makes it also spicy for the commentators, when you have a crash in that race and you take your repairs and you're a lap down or 2 laps down, it's not like you're dragging that disadvantage for the remainder of the race, whether that may be 5, 10, 15, 20 hours, whatever. But it's like, it's a reset. Every hour there is a reset, and there is a sprint result, and then you go to the next reset, and there's another result, and you add those up. So if you have bad luck once or twice, a third time or 3 times, it may not actually matter, because if you're on the top of your game, you're gonna end up at the top anyway. And I think that is nice. Like, you know, in a 24-hour race, so much depends on how you get it through the night, how many issues you got, how much time you spend on pit road. And I think that factor has been taken away a little bit. It's more like, how strong is your performance really? How good is your sprinting speed? How good is your overtaking and defending capacity? How good is your qualifying capacity? Because 24 qualifying is 24 races, you know. Yes, it takes away the overall, how shall I say this? Yeah, the endurance style of driving, the endurance skill of driving, of just like being smooth, driving 95% of your abilities and just keep the car on track and have legit speed. So it takes that element away a little bit, but I think it adds so much more suspense. It's more like, until the very last race, things can go wrong, and until the very last race, you can still make up position. So it could happen that you find yourself with 3 races or 3 hours to go, let's say in P18, but the points are so tight that with 3 good results in the remaining hour, you can still jump 4 or 5 or 6 places. You don't have that in a 24-hour race necessarily, and it's always full of suspense, because there is a race start every hour within 24 hours. And I mean, make it up yourself. Like, make up your mind over the event yourself. You've maybe seen it, maybe you've just watched a part of this, or you will watch a part of the playlist that I've put up here. And maybe you will agree, maybe you will disagree, whatever you think. Put your comments down in the comment area below. Let's get on talking. And how do you like the VCO Infinity format of 24 races in 24 hours? I think it was a great experience. I think it was a great event. Lots of social media done by VCO around it, so that was really a proper thumbs up to it. And well, eventually we will see another episode about well, yeah, like, not about the I should take an outcut right here, like just cut it out, throw it over, and like, but I'm doing this in one piece, so it's not gonna get edited pretty much. Maybe there is a second episode, because it was a really great event and it was a really nice experience that kind of put the 24-hour feeling completely on top of its head. And actually I liked it. I want to take part in another one. I want to see another one. So VCO Esports, great event. Thank you so much for having us there. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And speaking about enjoying, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Michi's Esport Diaries. Next time we're going to talk about the big disaster that we had in the Formula Pro Season 2 season opener at Spa. But we'll take that for another video. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Have a nice weekend altogether, and see you there next time. Goodbye.